Everyday Russians should be asking themselves right now how many Russian lives Putin will sacrifice for his cynical ambitions. Responsible members of this Security Council will stand together, and we will stand with Ukraine. And we will do so despite a reckless, irresponsible permanent member of the Security Council abusing its powers to attack its neighbor and subvert the UN and our international system.
Okay, so that's our ambassador, Linda Thomas Green, who, listen, here's the lay of the land at the United Nations. And I'm going to tell you what I want to do about it, because I'm very clear about what I want to do about it. Okay, so last night, just in case you checked out, I don't know, haven't turned on any news at all in the last 24 hours. So last night at about 10 o'clock our time, Eastern, the Vladimir Putin was on the TV making this deranged speech and announcing that he was going to attack Ukraine while the UN Security Council in New York was meeting. This was not the first meeting of the UN Security Council lately. Okay, they've been together. They've been meeting for about, this whole week, this entire week. Now, what you may not realize is that the United Nations Security Council includes Russia, not just as a member of the UN, but Russia is a member of the UN Security Council, and the UN Security Council is the portion of the UN that votes on whether or not the world goes to war. China, too. And they can veto any decision by the United Nations Security Council, because not only are they members of the United Nations, but they're members of the United Nations Security Council. What's even uglier and what's even more offensive is that Russia right now is the president. They hold the presidency of the UN Security Council, which rotates. It rotates. We've seen this before with rogue nations being part of the UN Security Council, but this is probably also a factor about timing on Putin's part, because right now he and his country are president of the United Nations Security Council. So I just want you to realize that that's what's going on at the United Nations, and that is why the ambassador from Ukraine pulled out the UN Charter and read Section 4 that said the United Nations has an open membership policy to any country that will abide by the peaceful means that the UN was convened for, was created for, to solve the world's problems, peaceful means. And so what the ambassador from Ukraine was saying is Russia is not capable of solving any problem through peaceful means. And we know that because 48 minutes ago, your deranged lunatic president got on the TV in Russia and announced that he was starting a war against my country, and did it. Moments later, bombs fell. Moments later, you had Matthew Chance standing on the balcony of a hotel, obviously, in Kiev, saying, "Oh my God, do you hear that? Those are bombs."
I heard 4 or 5 explosions a few moments ago. I don't know whether our viewers or whether you in the studio there could hear what I just heard. You could, right. Yeah. So, I don't know what it is, but I will tell you that the United States has warned
Was that another one?
The Ukrainians. Yeah, I think it was, but they're quite distant from where I am now. But I can tell you that the United States has of course warned the Ukrainian authorities that it is possible that there could be strikes, airstrikes, missile attacks, ground attacks as well on various places around the country, including on the capital, Kiev.
Okay, so what that was there's a base about 15, 20 miles outside of Kiev, and that's what the Russians are targeting. Military bases, civilian airports. If you were going to fly into Ukraine, the airport that you would fly into, it's bombed. They bombed it last night. All right, so what means do we have at our disposal that would shut Russia out of a say in how the world addresses the problem of Russia attacking its neighbor? with bombs and closing down the airspace. There was only, I was watching the air notices go out last night. There was only one flight in the air that was over Ukraine at this time. It was an Israeli flight, believe it or not. It was flying from Tel Aviv to Toronto, and they had to reroute their flight because you couldn't fly. Ukraine airspace was closed. All right, so yesterday I offered a solution to the Putin puzzle, right? And the first thing that I thought of was that obviously Ukraine, Vladimir Putin is picking a war on the citizens of Ukraine, on the citizens. He wants to fight a citizenry. He doesn't want to fight a military. He doesn't want to fight an army. He certainly doesn't want to fight the United States, nor does he want to fight Germany or France or any of the mature military forces in this world. That is not the fight that Vladimir Putin picked. He picked a fight against a citizenry that is now using their subway system as a bomb shelter. It's like a dystopian movie in Ukraine right now. Okay? It is the most amazing. There are families down there. There's moms and kids and babies and wearing their onesies and their little snowsuits, all down in a subway that is cleaner than ours, by the way. But down in the subway, using the subway as the only bomb shelter they have. Now these people have cars. They have cars, but they don't know where to drive to. They don't know where to go. So I thought, if we admitted, and this was yesterday, if we admitted Ukraine yesterday into NATO, then Vlad wouldn't be picking a fight with the citizens of Ukraine, the unarmed citizens of Ukraine, but he would then instead be picking a fight with the awesome militaries of the United States, of the UK, of France, of Germany, even Poland, and even, a couple of airplanes from Latvia and Lithuania, etc. That didn't happen. Then last night, I'm sitting there watching the United Nations Security Council meeting, and I'm listening to the ambassador from Ukraine, who is clear and clear-eyed about what needs to happen at the United Nations. And so am I. And so is every decent American who wishes that they had a chance to not be Neville Chamberlain in 1939, but instead be FDR and or Winston Churchill. This is our moment. And one of the first things that needs to happen is exactly what the ambassador said. Russia is incapable of being not only a member of the Security Council, not only being president of the Security Council, but of being a member of the UN. The United Nations needs to kick Russia out today, right now, in this very moment. Do it. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.